Karen Swallow Pryor is an English professor at Liberty University and a research fellow with the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission. She tweeted this week, "I predict that 2018 will be the year of the evangelical woman. Let's take the label back." And she joins us here right now to talk about that tweet. Karen, or Dr. Pryor, sorry, I was really interested in that tweet and just wondering what prompted that, what motivated you to put that out there?
Sure. Well, of course, the term evangelical and evangelicalism itself has been under much scrutiny and amid much controversy in the past couple of years, largely because of the election and the somewhat disputed statistic about the number of white evangelicals who voted for Trump and supported Roy Moore in a more recent election, despite their decidedly anti-evangelical values and beliefs. So I think evangelicalism in 21st century America is in a crisis point, but many people associate evangelicalism with simply those past several years and don't realize the long history that it has, beginning in England, and the role that the evangelicals played in abolitionism in both England and America. And so there is a much longer history to evangelicalism, and I consider myself evangelical. Despite the flaws, despite the weaknesses that we're seeing right now and even throughout history, I think it's a movement within the church that has contributed much good and has much more good to contribute. And I'm excited about the future of evangelicalism, and I think women have a place to lead it from here.
Mm-hmm. So when you say it's a movement within the church, are you talking about it more as a theological movement and you want to acknowledge that? Because I think what's complicated it is that we now have these political and cultural associations with the term. When it started out, I think, as more of a theological, doctrinal term.
Right. I mean, it is a theological movement, and it cannot be separated from any of its cultural, social, or political applications at any time in history. Evangelicalism was very controversial even when it began in early 18th century England and was surrounded then with political, cultural, and social controversies. But of course, what I'm talking about is the theological framework that defines evangelicalism and has for nearly 300 years. And of course, that includes the centrality of the Bible to our faith, the centrality of our individual conversion experience, the centrality of activism, and all of those things that have made evangelicalism for the past 300 years a vibrant part of the Protestant faith.
Now, I'm curious because you have gotten, of course, a lot of pushback on social media, and it's been interesting. Women of color have been saying, hey, we don't really like this term. We have experienced racism from self-professing evangelicals. We'd rather move on. How do you respond to that?
I absolutely understand and respect and lament those sentiments, those experiences. I'm listening to those women and to other people of color and minority groups who have experienced that. And evangelicalism is certainly not perfect, and we have had these struggles and tensions since its beginnings. And what I want to do is to hear those voices and to make that theological framework that I believe in so much better apply to all people in the way that the gospel does apply to all people. And so we need to hear those voices and listen to them and apply what I think is a robust and biblical theological framework so that it can be better, fairer, and more just.
All right. And do you have any specific plans to really move with this, reclaiming this word going forward?
Well, I don't have any specific plans for the word itself. I'm listening to those who find it a stumbling block, and if that's the case, then it's certainly not a hill I want to die on. I'm interested in the theological framework and not just orthodox belief, but orthopraxy, the application of that belief. And I think the reason why I tweeted out about evangelical women is because the many evangelicals who have looked aside at sexual misconduct and political corruption, I think, have been led by men. And I think in the past, what we've seen, the good that we've seen come out of this crisis of identification within evangelicalism is that women are speaking out. We are not. We are asking the church to consider the sexual abuse, the sexual misconduct, the inequality, the oppression of all women within evangelicalism, and then those outside the church and outside of evangelicalism. And the men are listening. That is what has really encouraged me and prompted the tweet, is because I am getting messages and letters and emails and conversations with men who want to hear from the perspective of women within evangelicalism and those outside of it. So I'm encouraged by the men who are listening. I'm encouraged by those outside of evangelicalism who are pushing back. I think if we all want the best for all of God's children, then evangelicalism can continue to play a role.
All right. Well, I think there's a lot of work to do, but there's also some encouragement there. Karen Swallow Prior, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.